Yeah, you staged it! You staged it! Staged it! You staged it!
Just moments ago, Britain was shaken to its very core. A stunning Supreme Court ruling has ripped the mask off Keir Starmer's secret plan to drag the nation back into the grip of the European Union. What was once whispered in corridors and denied on television has now been exposed in the harsh light of truth, and the highest court in the land has confirmed what millions feared but few could prove. Labour was working in the shadows, preparing a silent betrayal of Brexit, hidden from the very people it was meant to serve. This is not politics as usual. This is not debate or policy. This is deception at the highest level, and tonight Britain is erupting in anger. The court's judgment did not simply stop Starmer's covert plan, it destroyed it, crushed it beyond repair, and in doing so has thrown the entire political establishment into chaos. The Supreme Court's ruling hit Westminster like a thunderclap. In a single moment, carefully crafted denials, carefully worded press conferences, and months of secrecy came crashing down. Judges laid bare what insiders are now calling the most dangerous political scheme in modern British history. A quiet effort by Keir Starmer and his inner circle to realign Britain with EU institutions without a single debate in Parliament, without a single vote from the people, and without a single shred of democratic approval. The documents revealed in court tell a story of betrayal. Secret meetings with Brussels officials, draft frameworks prepared to reintroduce joint legal oversight with the European Court of Justice, regulatory realignments designed to bind British industries back to European standards, even financial commitments, billions in taxpayer funds, prepared to flow silently across the Channel. And all of it planned in darkness, step by step, under the radar of voters who trusted that Brexit was settled. When the judgment was read, the language was sharp, almost brutal. The justices described the plan as a constitutional threat, a direct assault on the will of the people, and a violation of Britain's democratic principles. They declared in clear, unflinching words that no government, no prime minister, and no opposition leader has the right to rewrite Britain's relationship with the world in secret. Any move of such sweeping magnitude, they ruled, demands not only parliamentary approval, but the informed consent of the electorate. In other words, Keir Starmer was trying to undo Brexit behind closed doors, and the court has slammed the door in his face. Inside Labour headquarters, the panic is said to be total. For weeks, Starmer brushed off questions about his EU intentions, dismissing concerns as conspiracy theories. But the Supreme Court's ruling has made those suspicions undeniable fact. Sources claim Labour staffers are in meltdown, phones ringing off the hook, MPs demanding answers, and senior figures whispering of betrayal. Many of them were left in the dark, blindsided by the revelations. Some are already moving to distance themselves, issuing statements of shock and denial. Others, furious at being deceived by their own leader, are openly questioning whether they can remain under his command. One insider, speaking anonymously, admitted bluntly, "We didn't sign up to secretly reverse Brexit. If this is true, Starmer has destroyed us." But the fallout doesn't end there. The court documents didn't just implicate Starmer's closest aides. They also exposed the involvement of unelected civil servants and foreign diplomats, an entire network working quietly to stitch Britain back into EU structures. Immigration policies, trade rules, judicial authority were all on the table. The plan was meticulous, designed to move slowly enough that the public would not notice until it was too late. Piece by piece, Britain's independence would be chipped away. The judges called it a backroom coup, a phrase now echoing across headlines and television screens. The British people are responding with fury. Online platforms are ablaze with outrage. Protesters have already gathered outside Parliament, waving Union Jacks and chanting against betrayal. Hashtags denouncing Starmer are trending across social media. Citizens who once doubted his true intentions now feel vindicated and betrayed. Calls for a public inquiry are growing louder by the hour, and demands for Starmer's resignation are spreading through every corner of the nation. Even Labour supporters, long willing to give him the benefit of the doubt, are turning away in anger. For them, This is proof that trust has been broken beyond repair. Across Westminster, rival parties are moving with ruthless precision. Nigel Farage has branded the revelations the greatest betrayal of Brexit yet, while Reform UK leaders are vowing to dig even deeper, promising to expose every deal, every email, every back-channel meeting Labour tried to keep hidden. Conservative MPs battered and bruised after months of scandal are seizing the moment, declaring themselves defenders of Brexit's legacy and branding Labour unfit to govern. Overnight, Starmer's careful image as a steady, rule-abiding leader has been shattered. In its place stands a man accused of scheming against democracy itself. The shockwaves are only beginning. Britain is not just facing a political scandal, it is facing a reckoning. The court's ruling has set the stage for what may be the most explosive battle in modern British politics, a fight not just over Brexit, but over trust, sovereignty, and the very soul of the nation. The shockwaves from the Supreme Court ruling are not just echoing through Parliament. They are tearing it apart from the inside. For months, Starmer's critics whispered about hidden plans to slowly realign Britain with the European Union. But now those whispers are being shouted from the rooftops. The judgment has given fuel to those who accused him of betrayal, of plotting in secret to overturn the very promise of Brexit that millions fought so hard for. Across the Conservative benches, MPs are calling it the smoking gun. To them, this isn't just about policy, it is about trust, loyalty, and whether the leader of the opposition has been caught red-handed trying to drag Britain back into Brussels' grip. The timing could not be worse for Starmer. Britain is already boiling with discontent, strikes, soaring prices, crumbling services. Now, the one thing holding his party together, his claim of offering stability, has been shattered in front of the nation. Suddenly, Starmer looks not like a man ready to lead, but a politician cornered and exposed. But it doesn't stop there. Outside Westminster, the anger is turning into something much bigger. Protesters have gathered in cities across the UK, their chants growing louder by the hour. No betrayal, no surrender! What began as small gatherings are swelling into mass demonstrations, with flags, placards and fury aimed directly at Starmer. The Supreme Court has given legitimacy to the anger, transforming it from political noise into a movement with teeth. Social media is ablaze. Hashtags calling for Starmer's resignation, others demanding fresh elections, and still more urging the government to tighten Brexit protections once and for all. The internet has become a battleground, and the ruling has unleashed a storm that no spin doctor can control. And here is the most dangerous part. Britain's fragile political order is shaking. The ruling has emboldened Reform UK, who wasted no time declaring victory. Their leader claims this as proof that the establishment is corrupt and untrustworthy, framing themselves as the only true defenders of Brexit. Overnight, their support is climbing, biting into the very voter base Starmer needs if he hopes to enter number 10. Inside Labour, whispers of rebellion grow louder. Senior MPs are said to be furious that they were kept in the dark. Some demanding an explanation, others plotting behind closed doors. What was once Starmer's united front is now cracking wide open, with talk of leadership challenges spreading like wildfire. The Supreme Court ruling didn't just block a secret deal, it exposed the cracks in Britain's opposition, leaving Starmer fighting not just for his political life, but for survival against enemies inside and outside his party. The atmosphere in Westminster is electric, almost dangerous. Journalists crowd the corridors, hurling questions at Labour MPs who look increasingly nervous. The Prime Minister's office remains silent for now, but aides have been spotted rushing in and out, clearly preparing a statement. Every hour of silence adds to the tension. Every moment of delay raises speculation. Has Starmer already lost the moral authority to lead? Can he even survive this level of scandal? Britain feels on edge, as if one more revelation could push the entire system into chaos. This is no longer just politics. This is a fight for the soul of the nation, and the Supreme Court has just lit the fuse. But the real storm didn't begin in the courtroom, it began in the streets. The ruling hit Britain like a lightning strike. People poured out of pubs, homes and offices, furious at the thought that their democracy had nearly been handed away without their knowledge. Crowds gathered outside Parliament, waving Union Jacks and chanting against betrayal. This wasn't a quiet political debate anymore. This was war on the streets, a clash between the will of the people and the schemes of the political class. And Starmer? He tried to keep calm, but behind closed doors, his party was falling apart. MPs whispered in corridors. Aides leaked documents and plots against him began to surface. The man who had dreamed of rewriting Britain's future with the EU was now watching his own future crumble before his eyes. The Supreme Court's words didn't just block a plan, they tore open old wounds. It reminded everyone of the bitter years of Brexit battles, the late-night votes, the broken promises, and the voices of millions who felt ignored. The judgment brought all of it back to the surface, and suddenly one question echoed everywhere. If Starmer was willing to hide this plan from the people, what else has he been hiding? Newspapers went wild. Headlines screamed of betrayal. Leaked emails suggested months of secret talks, and some even claimed Brussels had promised Starmer a special partnership in exchange for his loyalty. Whether fact or rumour didn't matter anymore. Trust had been shattered, and with that shattering came chaos. Protests turned into blockades, police struggled to contain the anger, and in some cities, tempers boiled into clashes. The ruling had exposed a dangerous truth. Britain was not just divided, it was on the edge of eruption. On one side stood those who demanded Starmer's resignation, chanting that democracy must be defended. On the other side were his supporters, insisting the court had gone too far, accusing the judges of meddling in politics. Britain wasn't just in a legal fight anymore. It was facing a political earthquake that threatened to swallow everything. And in the heart of this chaos, whispers grew louder. Could the monarchy intervene? Could the king himself be forced to step into this crisis if Parliament collapsed under the weight of fury? For centuries, the Crown has been silent in politics, but now people were asking if the time had come for the unthinkable. The Supreme Court ruling hadn't just destroyed Starmer's plan, it had set the entire nation on a collision course with history. The Supreme Court ruling has done more than just block a legal loophole. It has ripped open the deep cracks running through Britain's political foundation. What started as whispers of Starmer's quiet EU reset has now exploded into open warfare. The judgment has stripped away the mask, leaving both supporters and critics staring at the truth. Starmer's ambitions are not just under scrutiny, they are under siege. The question now is whether this moment will define his downfall or if he will find a way to claw back control in a political storm unlike any Britain has faced in decades. Parliament is already in chaos. MPs are trading accusations across the chamber like weapons. Tory backbenchers are calling for a full inquiry into every meeting, every document, every note exchanged between Starmer and EU officials. They want names, dates and proof of just how far this secret deal went. Some are demanding resignations, not just from Starmer, but from senior Labour figures accused of shielding his plan. Others are calling it treason, plain and simple. Their voices grow louder, feeding into the chants outside Westminster, where protesters wave Union Jacks and shout that Britain must never kneel again before Brussels. The atmosphere is charged with anger, betrayal, and something even more dangerous, mistrust in the system itself. But Starmer refuses to fold. In a defiant statement, he claims the court ruling has been misinterpreted and insists that any talks with the EU were exploratory, not binding. He calls his opponents liars and fearmongers, saying they are twisting the narrative to destroy him. Yet even as he speaks, cracks are showing in his own camp. Whispers of rebellion circulate within Labour. Senior MPs worried about their seats and their reputations are quietly distancing themselves, refusing to defend Starmer publicly. A few even suggest that if the backlash grows, Labour may have no choice but to replace him to save the party from collapse. The vultures are circling, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Meanwhile, Britain itself feels like it is holding its breath. The Supreme Court has set a precedent. No Prime Minister, no leader can use hidden arrangements to shift the nation's destiny. The ruling has electrified the public, but it has also deepened divisions. Those who voted to remain in the EU see it as another betrayal of their hopes, while those who voted for Brexit call it the ultimate proof that Starmer was planning to drag them back into the Union by stealth. Social media is ablaze. Hashtags of #betrayal and the Starmer out, trending as ordinary citizens argue furiously about what the future should look like. Families, friends, colleagues, everyone seems split down the middle. The most dangerous part, the ruling hasn't killed the debate. It has supercharged it. Already, European leaders are watching closely, some furious that private discussions have been exposed, others quietly celebrating that Britain's internal chaos makes it weaker on the global stage. Enemies of the UK are also watching, smiling at the cracks in the foundation of British democracy. What happens next could decide whether the country stands tall or collapses under its own divisions. For Starmer, every move from this point on is political survival. One wrong step could end his career overnight. Will he double down, trying to rally Labour around him with promises of reform and stability? Or will he fall victim to the same forces he once sought to control, the media storm, the fury of the people, and the iron hand of the law? Britain's history has seen leaders rise and fall in dramatic fashion, but rarely has a Prime Minister been so publicly exposed, so brutally cut down by the very institution meant to safeguard democracy. This is not just a ruling, it is a reckoning. The Supreme Court has spoken, but the battle is only beginning. The court may have destroyed Starmer's secret plan, but it has unleashed something far more dangerous. A nation uncertain of who it can trust. A parliament at war with itself and a prime minister standing alone in the storm. Britain is erupting, and the political earthquake shaking Westminster tonight could reshape the nation for generations to come. The betrayal has been exposed, but the real fight for Britain's future has only just begun.